welcome back to Call the Damn Leads, the show by sales professionals for sales professionals. I'm your host, Drewbie Wilson. With more than 2 decades in sales, I've seen it, been through it, heard about it. Now I'm bringing it to you, my favorite people in the world, the sales community. Because let's be honest, it's the greatest job on earth. Doesn't matter where you come from, what background, what personality type. You can create an amazing life in sales. And today's guest, someone I'm very excited to learn more about and hear his crazy sales story. I'd like you to welcome Mr. Paul Pape. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me, Drewbie. I appreciate it.
Absolutely, man. I was just telling you, I'm excited for your episode today because you have a very unique angle to sales and entrepreneurship. So I want to jump right in, man. Tell us your crazy sales story.
So basically, I started off as an artist. I worked for about 20 years being a designer and fabricator of custom collectibles. I earned the nickname Santa for nerds. That became like my go-to handle. So when you needed something magical pulled out of a hat, they would call me up. And that ended up leading to places like Disney, Universal, Nickelodeon. I worked for all the major players. Plus, I worked for people just like you all over the world. So did that for about 20 years, and then I started moving into the coaching and consulting business because after about 8 years of being on Twitch as a creator and answering the same questions over and over again, I thought there's got to be a better way. Let's just teach this outright. And then what I found in the first couple of years is that a lot of creatives like myself, eyes glaze over. We don't really care much for the actual terminology and the methodology behind businesses, behind entrepreneurship. You were mentioned earlier, we're going to talk about my CTA. Let me tell you, I can ask you, 99% of creatives would not know what the hell a CTA is. So what I did is I was meeting with a client of mine, and what happened is we were talking about their role within their business, and they were confused. And I was like, okay, what does everybody do? And they said, oh, we do everything. I'm like, that doesn't work in business. We all have to specialize. And so I was like, how about I come back tomorrow and we're going to play a game? They're big nerds. We're all big nerds here. We're creative nerds, and we love gaming. And so I came up with an on-the-fly version of Dungeons and Dragons Business Edition. And so I sat down with everybody, and we kind of did that. And that day, we spent 6 hours campaigning, building characters, all based on who they were in their actual business. So it wasn't fiction. We were actually doing their business, but we were using terminology that really spoke to them because they understood gaming platforms and rules very well. And from there, I started building this business, which is called Gamify Business, where we actually do that. I start with your business, and we take your core concept, turn it into a character, and then we basically game out your life. And so we make entrepreneurship and business for creatives fun instead of the slog that it feels like for people like me.
I am going to absolutely love this episode way more than I even thought. So, backstory on me is that I grew up a gamer, right? I loved playing online games. We played offline games. One of the first kids in my neighborhood to have cable internet. So unfettered access to the multi-world of, mass multiplayers, all the things. And what I have learned is that when you can gamify the sales process, there's so much to be gained there, especially for those of us that grew up in that generation, right? There's Absolutely. A whole crew of us that just that was the thing. And so what I'd be curious about for you as far as as you're leaning in on this space, gamifying and creating the avatar, right? Let's just start there because I think that's such a great conversation for sales professionals. Tell me a little bit more about how you work with the, business owners and entrepreneurs you do to really build that profile specifically. Because I think from a sales perspective, once you understand who you're speaking to and why, it makes you almost unstoppable.
Well, when we think about a game like a tabletop role-playing game like Dungeons and Dragons, whenever your party gets together to go out and defeat the main big bad, you have to build the lore around it. You have to understand who that enemy is to defeat. Business isn't any different, except that we're not going after enemies, we're going after clients and customers. And so what we have to understand is that how they work, what they're interested in. And the first rule that I tell my clients is that if you are not absolutely clear on what you're selling, the seed, then you're too generic. Your spells are going to bounce right off of that customer. You need to be able to hit them with something that is powerful, that gets them right in the gut, right in the heart. And that's what we do. So we work with them on building their avatar to understand truly who it is that they're trying to sell to. And we build up a persona. We actually have a monster manual, which is all of their customer styles that they're going to encounter throughout there, whether it be individuals, small businesses, corporate, or just trying to spread something out in a wider net. We actually build this catalog of creatures that they're going to encounter and different approaches for them. It's the exact same that you would, like any other NBA owning professional would do. You just basically create your ideal candidate for your clientele, and then you just really dig in. I had a coach once tell me that when you're thinking about your ideal client, you want to think about them as somebody who has kidnapped your son, and you need to find out everything you can about it to get your son back. And in gaming, it's the same thing. It's what we're trying to do is reward based. We're trying to go after that little bump that says we've accomplished this step forward. We get a reward. We get a treat. We go this little bit further. And so it's really digging into who it is that you want to sell to really truly understand them. And when you understand them, then it's a lot easier to appeal to them. The second thing that I make them do is I make them pitch, not their product. It's my first rule: is do not sell your stuff. Sell yourself. I usually say it, there's a swear in there. I'm like, you don't sell your crap, Sell yourself, because as an artist, as a creative, typically the people that I'm working with, they're making either bespoke items, or they're making custom items, or they're making high value items. And what we want to do is we want to make sure that they're not selling the thing, but they're selling the person behind it, the artist, the creative, the whatever behind it. And we do that through storytelling. And so when we're pitching to a person, we want to be able to tell a story, to not just say, these are the cool pretties that we want you to buy, but instead we want you to understand who I am as the person behind it. If you watch any kind of like award show and the people are coming down the carpet, they never once ask, what are you wearing? They're always asking, who are you wearing? And that's the perfect way of describing it to my clients, is to approach it like that. It's the person behind it. That's going to be way more important than the pants. So sell yourself as the creative behind it, and you'll get a lot further. And so appeal to them through story, make you more of a human, make you more believable. And then if you have done your research on who your ideal client is, you'll be able to hit the heartstrings, which is really what's going to help you to sell the product. Because at the end of the day, it's not about selling. You'll agree with me on that one. You don't want to sell somebody something. You want them to want something that you're selling. And the only way to do that is through story.
Yeah, I love the way that you broke that down, because it's the differentiator between those who take orders and those who become true professionals at this sport, this industry, this battle, if you will. And what I really love about it is it does lean in on the fact that, from a sales perspective, your personal brand, the way people see you and appreciate you and they trust you based on the relatability, that says a lot about how successful you're going to be, because your ability to get into character, if you will, and be the hero of that person's journey, then that's the thing that allows you to truly serve more people on a big level, right? So if we want to nerd out a little bit, talk about the knight in shining armor that just happens to show up to save you at the perfect time from this big bad problem that you're going through in your life. And so what I would be curious is, because I know you work with creatives, right? And so there's a lot of people who are absolutely fantastic at the art, at the craftsmanship, the thing that they do better than everybody else in the world. Where the struggle is seeing the value in themselves and then getting into the framework and character of the business owner, the entrepreneur versus the artist. And so how do you take them through that journey and train them to be that true character that allows them to focus on building the business around them, not just making the art?
I think you hit on something that strikes every creative, and even a lot of entrepreneurs. I believe entrepreneurs are creatives because they're starting businesses, they're doing their own thing. So creatives to me isn't just artists, but there is that imposter syndrome. We all deal with imposter syndrome. And the easiest way that I have found to deal with this, and you nailed it on the head there, with creatives are taught the skills to be creative, but they're not taught the skills to be business people. And so what we do, once we say my speech about, hey, sell yourself, not your crap, what we do is we create character sheets. I have found time and time again, and it doesn't matter if you're a creative or not, that entrepreneurs especially, but most people, do not like to introspect and say aloud their shortcomings. We all have them, even though we'll say that we don't, but it is one of those things that we need to be aware of. And so what I do is we create a character sheet. It's a 2-day process where we sit down and we actually look at who you are. And the reason this works so well is because we can separate ourselves. We're not saying I am deficient in this. You're saying my character, who is you, is deficient in this. And we create a sliding scale of all these different skills and abilities that you have, and they can look at it. There's never anything that says, oh, I'm a 1 or a 20. I'm not a perfect, or I'm not completely lacking. It's, I lean more this way or I lean more that way. And what this does is it allows us to see in graphic form, in like legit, we can see it on paper, version of who this character is, who you are as a business person, as the creative. And once we recognize where those are, when we go search for party, which is collect people who can help support you in your business, we don't look for people who are identical to you. We look for the people who fill the gaps in lean the other direction than you are to help make you more well-rounded. Because if you have a party of 5 warriors, you're going to wipe. You need a healer, you need a DPS, you need all those people. And it's the same in business. My weak spot, and I'll be honest with you, my weak spot is marketing. I hate it. It is one of those things I just cannot stand doing. But I know, because I've done my own homework, that that's my weak spot. So I found people who have, that's their strength. I can talk to anybody. Like marketing is a challenge for me. So I find people who can help boost me up in there to create a better party that's going to have more success in the long run than trying to just accomplish it myself.
I appreciate your vulnerability and willingness to talk about that, because that is a part of the journey that I think a lot of entrepreneurs struggle with. Is like, I've got to be great at all of this to be a successful entrepreneur. You don't. And I love the analogy of, creating a raid party, if you will, to make sure that it's well-rounded and it has all of the key components that you're going to need for each of those boss fights that you run into. Because Absolutely. In business and sales, you're going to run into the corporate character. You're going to run into the mom and pop. You're going to run into the single producer that's another fellow young entrepreneur. And so in each of those conversations, you have to have the skill set, the key character development to be able to relate to them to solve their problem. And typically, the bigger the problem you solve, the more they pay you. Kind of like the better the boss that you defeat, the better the loot gets, right? They're like, let's just keep it gaming style.
That's right.
And what I'd be curious for you, because I know in the gaming community, it has its own language. It has its own, like short frames and LFG and all the things that we know from a gaming world of like, hey, I'm looking for a group, or I'm BTS, I want to sell this thing. How did you what caused you to realize that you're going to have to create a connection or translation of languages from the gaming community to like the actual business side? Because again, CTR and CTC and CPA, all of these are the same kind of stuff, but from a different perspective.
Absolutely. It's just the atmosphere we speak in. It's the groups that we follow. You got your group of friends that you hang out. You've got your own shorthand for speaking. We all do it. And what led me to understanding this the most was trying to tell these potential creative entrepreneurs how to be a business using business terminology, and just watching their eyes glaze over. Like, they didn't get it. They were lost. And I was explaining it again and again. And once I started talking in gaming terminology, because we all game, we grew up on the device. I mean, I'm from the 70s, so I was there for the Atari 2600 and all that fun stuff. So like, we grew up in that, and we understand how to level something up, and we understand the terminology that we use. I mean, I played World of Warcraft for 15 years, and so you just watching the chat and it's all just initials. And then my wife would come in and she'd be like, what am I reading here? And I'm like, oh, there's a whole conversation going on. You just learn this. And it's the same thing. I'm in a lot of like business communities as well. And let me tell you, I keep a notebook of shorthand, because there's just a lot of initials flying around everywhere, and it's hard to keep them all straight. And so I'm in a group right now, a mastermind group, and they're always and they're all business people. They don't understand the creative thing. And it's so fun to watch them try. But what happens is they start speaking out these things, and I've got to look through my own cheat sheet, because I'm like, okay, this is something I'm still trying to learn. I'm trying to understand it. But then what happens is you end up spilling both worlds they kind of overlap a little bit. And so I'll say LFG, and people will be like, well, what's LFG? And I'm like, different crowd. Well, so it's,
hold on.
Yeah. We're good to go. Yeah, let's do it. And so it just really depends. So that's really how it came about, was speaking to them and seeing just the glossy eye. But then when you start talking in gaming terminology, they're like, I get it. Because it's a lot easier to say, hey, we're instead of return on ad spend, they don't get it. ROAS. They're like, is that a rodent of an actual site? Like, what is ROAS? And you're like, no, that's return on ad spend. They're like, I don't even understand what that means. And I'm like, okay, so you got to go to the bulletin board in your town square to find out where the people are that need help so that you can get paid. How much does the town charge you to put that ad up there for your group? Oh, well, it charged me like 10 gold pieces a month. Okay, and then how many jobs did you get? Oh, we got 3 jobs. They paid 30. Okay, well, now understand what ROAS is. Okay, it's like we just talking different terminology, and then they're like, I get it. So then when I say go out and let's work on your ads, I don't have to talk to them in business terminology. I can say, how much gold you earned this week. They understand it. They don't need a conversion. There's nothing like that. It's they grasp it. They're like, oh, I did this. I leveled up all my equipment. I leveled up my gear, whatever. So it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, I love the idea of creating relatability. I think that is a big part of the sales process as well, as when you can start creating those analogies and those relationships between context. It's like, oh, well, you like to build race cars. Like, fantastic. Let me go ahead and show you how we're going to build the frame, and we're going to put the wheels on it, and then we're going to slowly build the engine. And then once the engine's in, we're going to add the outside. And, it's just like when you're building the character, right? You got to start with your base form. Are you going to be an elf or are you going to be an ogre, right? You're going to be a neutrally good human. Like, pick your character. Then we're going to put some clothes on him, and then we got to give him the right weapon, and then we got to give him the right, magic spells. And there's layers to this. The same thing happens in your sales process. And so what I'd be real curious for you on is, for the creatives that are out there listening, the folks that maybe they're building replicas of their Dungeons and Dragon characters, or maybe they're really great at creating content for social media and they've got this amazing skill set. How do you get them to break out of the mindset that they're not going to be able to make it successfully with this as a full-time career? Because listen, there's a lot of people out there that know artists that are like, just go get a job, make yourself some money, do that thing on the weekend. But I believe that anyone who has a true passion for the skill set that they've developed, they can make a living from it. So how do you work with them to kind of break that mindset of, you'll never make it, to like, hey, I 100% can do this?
Yeah, you're not wrong. 7% of people who get a creative-based degree or pursue that as an education do not pursue it in reality when they get out there because they don't know how to do it. So you're 100% right on that one. And it's a twofold thing. The first thing that I ask 2 questions. What are you passionate about? Are you an internet marketer? Do you love doing social media? Are you an influencer? Do you love, gaming? Do you like building replicas of Star Wars stuff? I don't care. What is the thing that you're absolutely passionate about? Then the second question, and this is the most important question, is what do you do different, unique than everyone else who shares the same passion? Because we all have this, there's only so much things we can like. I mean, if you're playing World of Warcraft, it's got 30 million people playing World of Warcraft. You've got to stand out across that. My son plays Minecraft, and he's like, I want to stream Minecraft. I'm like, what are you going to do that's different? He's like, I'm going to blow up everything I make, but we're going to do it on a 30-day timer. I'm like, that's a great aspect. And we call that the seed in RPG, but for, business, I mean, that's your angle. That's your marketing angle. That's really what we build your business around. And as long as you are honest and true to your passion, don't try to pursue the money. The money comes secondary. If you're good at what you do, if you become known for that specific thing, then the money pours in. The customers come to you. So you have to really lean into that. And it's getting your priorities straight and understanding what that seed should be and then building everything around that. Your identity becomes that. Now, I do want to clarify that you can have lots of seeds. Okay. But when you're talking about something very specific, if you've got a very specific product, everything that you do around that product has to match what that seed is. Everything has to be genuine to that. And then if you've got multiple side hustles, that happens. I know a lot of people, they want to be successful and they want to quit their full-time job, but the reality is a lot of us need 2-3 jobs just to stay afloat. And so if these become your side hustle, that's fine, but focus in on that thing that you are passionate about and then put all your energy into that one area, that aspect of it. And then that's really what helps you to become successful at it. It's not overnight. It's never going to be overnight, but you can speed run it. Another gaming terminology there.
Love it.
You can speed run it if you follow the instructions. The biggest issue that people, creatives especially, do is they try to be mass appeal because we're constantly inundated with things, advertisements from Nike to Pepsi and Coke. We see it and they're doing the shotgun approach because they can afford to do that. But as a creative who's starting out, you've got to really sniper in. You got to laser focus on who your audience needs to be. And they're going to be the people who are genuinely drawn to that seed. Focus all your energy on there and you'll be successful.
Man, that is fantastic advice. And I appreciate you going to the depth you did with it, because everyone needs to hear it from a different perspective in order to truly understand and let it sink in. Because even those of us who meet creatives and we try to encourage them to be like, hey man, you could really do something with this, there's that voice of doubt that comes from all the people that, have given them a hard time. And I love how you said, listen, just like it took you 10, 15 years to become the top gamer in, the number one guild across the world that has all the world first, like it took you 15 years. And in order for your business to be able to get to that level, you have to have that same passion, that same intensity, those same late nights, the reading every game guide, every forum, going to every person who's ever beat the boss and ask them like, hey man, would you be willing to share the framework or the key steps that you guys had to go through? Or like, what were the different phases that the boss did? And how did you, avoid whatever the laser beam was? Like, there's so many layers and there's so much connection here that I absolutely love it. And we could probably nerd out on this for several hours, Paul, because I really appreciate the way that you think and your approach to this whole thing. But I want to be respectful of your time. How do we come find you, follow you, check out more of your content there?
Well, you can find me at gamifybusiness.com. And if you head over there, a little pop-up will show up, and I can actually give you a link, so you can just put it in the episode here, that if you want to check out the first 2 chapters of this book that I sell, which is the Creative Player's Handbook to Business, which really gives you the introduction to this, talks about a lot of the things that we talked about here. You can get the first 2 chapters for free if you just head over to the website, give me your email address, and it mails it off to you. So that's the best way to find me. I'm on YouTube. I usually use my Paul Pape Designs, which is my other business, the Santa for Nerds business. So Paul Pape Designs or Gamify Business. You can just find me anywhere on the internet. If you're looking for me, throw up the bat signal, you'll find me.
I love that, man, and really appreciate your time. So listen, if you guys enjoyed today's episode, I know I really did. But if you enjoyed it, I want you to go and share it on social media. Pick whichever platform you like, doesn't matter, but put it out there, tag the 2 of us, let the world know you spent a little bit of your most valuable asset, your time, and you learned something today. And, maybe a creative who does really cool stuff, but they suck at building their own brand and business, and you want to see them succeed. Send them this episode. Tell them how great it was. Remind them that they can do some awesome things with their creativity and be very, very successful in their journey. And Paul had some amazing gems to share with them today. So listen, you guys, you know what to do. Send it out there, share it with the people that matter. And if you have an awesome story like Paul, and you can come at this from a different angle that will help people, I'd love to have you on the show. Head over to callthedamnleads.com/podcast. Send us your details. Fill us in on your story. Let's build your character up. Let's get you out there, and let's have some fun on the show. You guys know what to do now. Go pick up the phone. Call the damn leads. We'll see you next week.